AITAH, for telling my wife's sister she is a pathetic pick-me girl. I will start out. My wife's little sister is constantly talking about how she is not like the other girls and how she does things better than any other woman, etc. Last night she wanted to go to dinner with my wife and me. I was hoping maybe that she would just a normal dinner conversation, but that was quashed really quick. Right before we ordered our drink, she started with it again, complaining she can't keep a man and how she cannot phantom why. It seriously is annoying, and I didn't even finish an appetizer before I was fed up with the constant whining. I tried to be polite and told them both I was feeling a bit off and I was going out to the car. I asked the waiter for my food to go and paid for the entire tab. I went to my car and tried to eat in peace and quiet. First comment, NTA, but there is an important lesson about people here. I think the litmus test for things that should be said out loud is, are they true? Are they useful? Granted, she cornered you and didn't leave you any room for a polite or constructive criticism. That kind of behavior is probably part of the dysfunction that drives a lot of her unhappiness in general. However, I think you should sit down with your wife and acknowledge that the language you chose under pressure was hard for her to hear. Show her you're capable of articulating that opinion in a less insulting way. Discuss the unhealthy dynamic and at least attempt to figure out how to navigate it. Don't run away from it though. It sounds like the charade has gone on for long enough. Just trying to avoid it clearly isn't going to work. My wife was worried, and her sister came out about 10 minutes later, and my wife asked if I was all right. I told her I was just feeling under the weather and would be fine, and that her and her sister should go and enjoy themselves while I rested. The ruse didn't work, and her sister started again droning about not being able to find a man. I tried to show restraint and said, please, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm not feeling well. You two can chat by your car. My head is starting to hurt. She didn't even pretend that I said this and started exactly where I tried to cut her off. I, at this point, was getting visibly annoyed and just closed my to-go box, and she looked at me and said, well, it looks like you have an opinion. Why don't you think any guys like me? I told her I didn't, but she kept pushing it, and my wife, catching on, told her to stop pushing it, but she kept on. This went on for 5 minutes back and forth until I had enough and snapped. I told her the reason men didn't want to be with her was because she was a narcissistic and pathetic pick-me girl who would not stop talking about how she is not like the other girls, and that because other girls could hold a decent conversation like how their days was, or about a movie they saw, or something they saw in the news. She looked as if I shot her dog in front of her, and all she said was, what would I know about what real men liked? She then looked at my wife and told her that she needed to get rid of me, and she stormed off to her car, and my wife looked mad at her and me. On the way home, my wife cried because of what her sister said and told me I should have been much more tactful than that. I told her I tried. I even removed myself from the situation, but she followed me out, and I tried again to get her to go away politely, but she didn't leave. After driving home the 30 minutes from the restaurant, my phone kept dinging where I was getting texts. I didn't look cause I was driving, and I knew it would be her sister. I was not wrong, and she was insulting me and threatening me. Now her family is also harassing me about it. So AITAH? Second comment. This is like the third post this week where some married man hates the fact that his wife's cousin's sister friend talks to her about her problems. Every time the problem is men, and every time it is a single friend cousin sister who whines about being single and in his mind is clueless that it is her own fault, which also angers him. Nonetheless, he is always calm, tolerant, and makes a point to bite his tongue. One day he gets pushed beyond anything a person should have to bear. He chuckles, snorts, walks out, and naturally the sister's cousin's friends ask him what is wrong. He then feels permission to break and shout out or condescendingly describe her failures to her, all with a great degree of specification and aggression. It is always a real burn. Well thought out and structured. The type where everyone claps when he is done as cousin friend's sister runs off sobbing and humiliated. They all write the same. Why isn't the first step not, you ladies go ahead, have some girl time? I'm good. If wife pushes, then, okay, I will be honest. Your sister cousin friend triggers TF out of me, and I am afraid I will pop one day and say something I cannot take back. So insist I come with you at that peril, and warn your sister in advance. Third comment, NTA, but you're a very poor tactician, and for all her narcissism, Sill's not stupid. She quickly caught on to what you were doing, smelled out your weakness, and exploited it for all it was worth. A classic play in the game of family pushback is provoking the family member's wife's unwanted lover you into losing their cool. They then play the shocked and offended victimess, while you become the foul-tempered hothead disrespecting the family. Now that Sill knows the tactic works well on you, you can expect more provocations. I'm sorry, but you cannot repeat that mistake or anything like it. You take the L and learn from it. Avoid her like the plague, And never offer your opinions of any sort to her again, at least not the sort she can get herself or you worked up over. Your opinion of the weather, or our probes on Mars, or whether Indian tea is better than Chinese, will do nicely, whether it has anything to do with what Sil said to you or not. Had you done that with Sil at the car, you'd have repelled her attack and driven away unscathed. In fact, you might have gotten her to lose her cool while you kept yours. Fourth comment, your missus is the Sil definitely. Fact that she's mad at you speaks volumes. She's enabling this behavior and adding unnecessary toxic behavior in her life, and as a result, yours and your marriage. Fifth comment, kind of ta. Obviously, she and your wife were in the wrong for reasons other comments have pointed out, but you did two things that, in my opinion, aggravated the situation. First is you just left the restaurant under a false pretense. You weren't under the weather, you were frustrated at not being able to tell her what you think. Which leads to, secondly, you not telling her what you felt way sooner. If something irritates you about someone else's behavior, that's your brain letting you know you need the situation to change one way or the other. You chose the coward's way out, the way out that solves not a single problem in the long run and makes you seem cold and distant. That is what you were going for, but how can she receive you blowing up on her if you hadn't brought up your point of view earlier? From her POV, her behavior was fine, or else she wouldn't be doing it. As the irritated person, and clearly the one with more overall maturity, it's your responsibility to set up boundaries in a clear manner, or else you can only blame her so much. Though her implicating the whole ass tribe on you is a dick move, you'll have some explaining and apologizing to do to repair the situation, I believe. Best of luck. Now her whole family will be constantly back-chatting you and getting your missus involved. So whilst you're not the A, it's going to be stormy skies, guys, for the foreseeable future. Where your missus stands in all this will pretty much have an impact on your marriage, sorry to say. Your missus, and you needs to work out why she's enabling such behavior. Reality is either she feels good about herself seeing her sister in a mess, or she loves the drama, or she's a doormat type person that her sister is emotionally abusing. Best way forward is therapy for you and Mrs. Sil as well, but that's not your problem.